Hey, everybody, how's it going? We're live.
Oh, here we are.
We're now entering the winter months of our pandemic programming here on the Ben Joravsky Show. And I think Heatergate will begin on the program very shortly, where me and Ben will debate on whether or not we should keep the heater on or kick it off. I feel that's coming very soon.
I think it's already started, actually. It's already here. Heatergate. Heatergate.
Ben, like I said, you may need to get some winter wear for podcasting in the attic. Bundle up maybe like 2 or 3 coats. Kick that heater off.
Your overcoat. Hey, when the wind blows free, take good care of yourself. You belong to me. Now I'm tap dancing.
Oh, very nice. The fancy studio days are over, buddy.
That's correct.
That's funny, man.
Your Ben Joravsky Show for Wednesday, December 16th is just moments away. But before we do this, okay, and there's also the mute button. Remember that, too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, sorry about that, man.
It's all good. It's all good. We'll get there. We'll get there. Your Ben Joravsky Show for Wednesday, December 16th is just moments away. But before we do this, we need to thank the Chicago Reader. Check out the Chicago Reader. Subscribe, chicagoreader.com, for all things there is to know about the city of Chicago. They're sponsors of this program. We're on their YouTube channel. It's a Chicago Reader show, all right? So obviously, today's show is brought to you by the Chicago Reader. Also, your Ben Joravsky Show is brought to you by our good friends at the Chicago Federation of Labor. All right, Ben, now, I don't know why, but for some reason, I don't take you as a David Bowie guy. Are you a David Bowie guy?
Yeah, I don't know the deep dive of David Bowie. Let's see if I know this. I actually liked it. You know what? That's interesting. Thank you for raising that question.
Yeah, you're welcome.
David Bowie is one of the few rock stars of the 60s and 70s. Well, he also went into the 80s, obviously, that I like more as time goes on. There's only a few. John Lennon, Neil Young, David Bowie. Most of those guys in the 60s and 70s, I'm like, damn, I can't believe I even like that stuff. But David Bowie is right up there with Lennon and Neil Young in terms of, as time goes on, I like them more and more. How about that, huh?
Oh, that was good. That was good. Mm-hmm. I guess you can say that David Bowie is the real DB. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That is correct.
No, wait. Come on. You know I have that passionate affection for the real DB in Illinois politics, Darren Bailey. Hold on, train coming.
Oh, there's that mute button, guys. All right, round of applause for Ben. That was great use of the mute button. Wait, are you there? Hello? Okay.
I'm here, but the problem, that's a long train. Hold on. Mayor Pete! Oh, get ready for those jokes, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, my.
Chicka, chicka, choo, choo.
Oh, boy. Okay, and you mentioned Darren Bailey. We do have breaking news on Darren Bailey to get to. We're probably going to get to it at the end of the show, but we do have breaking news.
I did not. You know what? I was unaware of that. I'm still trying to catch up with the news of the newspaper.
It's silly, but we'll save it for the end of the show. All right, your song of the day is from David Bowie, and it is from Frank, Starman by David Bowie.
Love that song. He's a starman waiting in the sky. He'd like to do something, but he knows it blows your mind. And then there's a guitar solo.
Did you eat breakfast this morning? That was really good. You're on fire today.
Dude, I don't know, Bowie, man. I'm feeling Bowie. Like I said, I never even heard of Starman when it first came out. I wasn't listening to that kind of music back in the day, but like as time's gone on, I'm like, oh man, that Starman's a good song. It's kind of deep. Ever read the lyrics? Kinda deep.
And the David Bowie talk ends now because the Ben Joravsky Show starts now.
Okay.
It is Wednesday, December 16th, and live from my apartment and his attic, this is the Ben Joravsky Show. Today on the program, legendary Chicago journalist Monroe Anderson. And now your host, no Fred on the live stream chat. He's not David Bowie. Chicago Reader columnist Ben Joravsky.
I wish I were David Bowie. Anyway, hello everybody, Ben Joravsky here, calling this Railroad Pete Wednesday, and here's why. Breaking news. That's the bottle smashing, me doing the dentist bit. I said breaking news. President-elect Joe Biden names Mayor Pete his transportation secretary. The sounds you hear in the background. I love the breaking bottles, man. It's like, okay, Vilma, that was good. Good job, Vilma.
There's no Velma. It's me. It's Dennis. It's me. It's all me.
By the way, is her name Velma or Vilma? I can't remember. I think I changed it.
What a boss you are. Don't even know the employees' names. It was Velma. It was Velma. And she was really nice.
Yeah. She went from non-existent to being really nice in the course of about 5 seconds. Anyway, the sounds you hear in the background are Mayor Rahm sobbing. It's not fair. Now, I know what you're thinking, everybody. You're thinking, but Ben, this isn't breaking news because you talked about it yesterday. Excellent point. But yesterday was only rumor news. Today, it's actually breaking news. Hence the bottle smashing. I know because I read it on the New York Times on my phone. Yes.
That's breaking news.
That is breaking news. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I am now officially millennial as I read news on my phone. Next thing you know, I'll be listening to Lizzo. I actually heard a Lizzo song, D. Have you ever heard of Lizzo?
Yeah, no? you're still a little late on Lizzo, but that's fine.
Yeah, I heard a Lizzo song. It was
like really 2018, maybe 2019. That's okay. You're getting there.
I'm just catching up, all right? I just heard about Starman, which came out in 1973. 1973!
That's great. Finally, some Lizzo references on the program.
I like Lizzo. Anyway, back to Mayor Pete, whose new nickname is now Choo Choo Charlie. Or Railroad Pete. Anyway.
I like Railroad Pete.
You like Railroad Pete or Choo Choo Charlie? Which one do you like better?
Well, his name's not Charlie, so I'm going with Railroad Pete.
Okay, Railroad Pete. Here's what President-elect Biden had to say about it, and I'm quoting from today's press conference. Quote, he's one of the smartest people you'll ever meet. A policy wonk with a big heart, end of quote. Well, I don't know about the big heart part, but he is really smart. I'm not sure about the big heart.
Are you a rapper? Part. That was awesome.
Hey, man, come on. Lizzo, Lil Wayne. I'm like all into contemporary music, okay? Eminem. Yo, okay, I know your real name is Clarence, and you got two parents. How about that for rap?
Frank, give me a release date on that reference. Could you please?
On the Eminem reference, your name is Clarence. Was that 1999? 1999.
Possibly.
Anyway,
you're so hip.
Oh yes, Mayor Pete, Choo Choo Charlie, Railroad Pete. He's one of the smartest people you'll ever meet, according to Joe Biden. A policy wonk with a big heart. I don't know about the big heart part, but I know he's really smart. In the campaign, my problem with Mayor Pete seemed like he was very calculating. He seemed like he was like a little Mayor Rahm type there, you know? I remember when he was trying to distinguish himself from lefties like me on the issue of student debt. He goes, well, I can't be for eliminating student debt for people who go to college because that wouldn't be fair to people who go to trade school. What a dishonest way to not take a strong stand. You know, hey, here's a suggestion. Why not eliminate debt for people going to trade school too? Hello? You know, think of that. Oh, no. So we try to somehow or other justify having a regressive policy stand by making it seem like it was really progressive. Anyway, may have been a little too smart for his own good. So during the presidential campaign, as you recall, during the Democratic primary, he never made it to my top 5. I don't think he was ever in the top 10, actually, Mayor Pete. But I know a lot of baby boomers loved him. He was very, very popular with baby boomers. It was sort of like, he's such a fine young man. Why can't all millennials be like Mayor Pete? Anyway, that's ancient news. We're moving on. It's the Biden era, and he's now the nominee for Transportation Secretary. Although I am not sure what he knows about transportation. As Dennis said yesterday, my bet he's more of an Uber guy or a Lyft. In fact, I would go so far as to say he has both Uber and Lyft apps in his phone. And Mayor Pete would be like, I know. I'll call Uber today and Lyft tomorrow.
I just see him like 2 years into the position. Okay, now, Pete, I know. Before you say, what about Uber? We got to fix these trains, my man.
Yeah. I'm actually not sure if Mayor Pete has ever ridden the CTA or the Lawrence bus or any bus in Chicago.
Dude, he was driving the Brown line 2 days ago on our program.
Oh, yeah. Oops. Actually, he was driving I think at the start of the show. Just let's edit that out of the pod. Back to yesterday's press conference, or maybe it was this morning's press conference. I don't know. I've lost track of time. Mayor Pete spoke of his own, quote, personal love of transportation ever since childhood and emphasized the need to improve the country's infrastructure. Yeah, I didn't know. He loved trains when he was a kid.
I did not cry when my mom took me to the babysitter when I was a kid. I loved transportation.
Yes, right. And I love playing with the trains at the babysitter's house. Anyway, I'm with him on improving the country's infrastructure. Bridges and roads and tunnels all over America are crumbling. Put America to work. Fixing them makes sense. In fact, to quote PC, Peter Cunningham comes on the show, our centrist friend. Got to have every podcast of the leftist persuasion has to have at least one centrist friend, D. Maybe we have more than one, wouldn't you say? We got him like 8 or 9. Anyway, if Donald Trump had improved America's infrastructures, he might be getting ready for a second term, as opposed to sobbing like a baby because he lost. Hold on a second. Just want to clarify something. That's the sound of Donald Trump crying, as opposed to Rahm crying. Got it, D? Okay. 2 different cries.
Okay.
I worked with Velma all night on that.
Can we hear Bill Clinton crying?
I feel tear coming.
Oh, okay.
That's Bill Clinton. Now here's Obama crying. No, Obama never cries because he's no drama Obama. No need for tears.
I remember he would cry in speeches.
Obama?
Yeah, that was his thing, right?
Yeah, I don't remember. Not like Rahm right now. It's just weeping openly. I would have been a great transportation secretary. Anyway, at the press conference, President-elect Biden also made a big deal out of the fact that Mayor Pete is openly gay, meaning that Mayor Pete will be the first openly gay person to serve as a cabinet secretary. And then the New York Times quoted Alfonso David, the president of the Human Rights Campaign, saying of Mayor Pete, quote, his voice as a champion for the LGBTQ community in the cabinet room will help President-elect Biden build back our nation better, stronger, and more equal than before. End of quote. I'm all for President-elect Biden naming openly gay people to the cabinet positions. I'm all for breaking down the barriers that openly gay people face. But I don't know. Could you have found an openly gay person who actually knows something about transportation? To be the Secretary of Transportation? Hey, D, what about Alex? At least Alex, our dear friend Alex, has been on a city bus. Anyway, congratulations, Mayor Pete. I'll say this. At least you're better than Rahm. We got a great show today, everybody. Monroe Anderson will be here. By the way, Monroe, big fan of the Mayor Pete choice. Yes.
Oh, now, is that for real? Or is that sarcasm?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
No. In my pre-show production meeting with Monroe and I have a pre-show production meeting, D, after you and I have one. Every Wednesday we have one. Ours goes for a long time because we go on all these tangents. in our pre-show production meeting, he said, Ben, you're wrong about Mayor Pete, and he'll be a great transportation secretary. And then he explained why. So we'll be hearing that from Monroe. And also he'll be trashing Trump as Trump heads out the door. It'll be trash Trump, trash Trump, trash Trump, Trump with Monroe Anderson. But before we get to that, the young man from Alton, the man who's been riding trains since the day he was born, the man that Mayor Pete fondly calls Dr. D, with the news.
I was born on a train, guys. No, I'm just kidding. I wasn't. All right. How's it going? Before we find out what's happening in Chicago and or Illinois this sort of snowy afternoon, we begin in the city of Chicago. We have a developing story happening at the moment, a very serious story, and we'll try our best to lighten the mood once we're done discussing it. We had Maya Dugmasov on the show yesterday talking about it. Go download it for more. The recently released CPD body-worn camera footage of Miss Anjanette Young in February of 2019. Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot just put out a statement saying that she had just seen the body cam footage for the first time on Tuesday. Ben Joravsky, the floor is yours.
Well, we discussed this with Amaya yesterday, as Dennis said, and I urge everybody to listen to that. We took the deep dive on it, and this is really a troubling story. This story suggests to me that Chicago remains determined, I tell you, ladies and gentlemen, never, ever, ever to learn from its mistakes. And the mistakes I'm talking about are in the mayor's office and how the mayor's office deals with evidence of police misconduct. Now, in this particular story, as we talked about yesterday, this incident took place in February 2019, before Mayor Lori Lightfoot was elected mayor. So this happened in the days of Mayor Rahm. And I want to give a shout out to Dave Savini at CBS, excellent reporting. And I urge everybody to go check out Savini's story. It's online. You can see it. You can watch. And it features footage. And it's really difficult to watch this footage because in some ways it's terrifying, of Anjanette Young in her home, doing nothing wrong, bothering no one. And 9 police officers, I think it was 9 police officers, burst into her house, knocked down the door. They have this battering ram. And the reason we know this because they were wearing their cameras and their cameras were on. So there's footage that shows everything that happens. And they knock down the house, they knock down the door, they come on in, and Anjanette Young is naked, as I think it's 9 police officers burst into her house, all men. So here you go, ladies and gentlemen. Just think about this for the moment. You're a home in your house alone, and you're a woman. 9 men burst in your home, and you're naked. And they're yelling at you, and they're saying you're under arrest. And the next thing you know, they handcuff her with her hands behind her back, and they have a search warrant. Only it turns out, and it's all in the footage, that the search warrant has the wrong address. And so they're not in the wrong place. And whoever they're looking for is not in this apartment. And most importantly, it's not Anjanette Young. And yet they won't release her. I mean, it's pretty obvious within 20 seconds that she's not the person they're looking for. And more important, the person they're looking for is not in her house, and that they made a huge error. And here they are, her terrorizing a naked woman, standing there with her hands handcuffed behind her back, naked. I don't know what justification in the world existed to keeping her in that position for so long. At some point, I'm not quite sure when, because I don't think the footage, they show this in the footage, they allow her to put a T-shirt on and maybe some sweats or something. But they obviously unhandcuffed her to get the T-shirt on, and then they put the handcuffs back on. Like, why are the handcuffs on again? Obviously, Anjanette Young is not the person you're looking for, and obviously, whoever you're looking for is not in that house. It's a pretty terrifying scene. So, again, just to be clear, this took place in February of 2019, before Mayor Lori Lightfoot was Mayor Lori Lightfoot. She was still candidate Lightfoot and doing things like promising to clean up abuses by police officers of this ilk. Now, nobody knew about this, or at least other than Anjanette Young and the police officers who raided the house. But Anjanette Young eventually got a lawyer, filed suit against the city, and demanded the release of the video that showed what happened to her. The city fought the release of that video. And it wasn't Mayor Rahm's city that was fighting the release of that video. It was Mayor Lori Lightfoot's city that was fighting the release of the video. It wasn't lawyers that Mayor Rahm had hired and supervised that were in court fighting the release of that video. It was lawyers in the Mayor Lightfoot administration. That's a very important point to make. So yes, the raid happened when Mayor Rahm was the mayor, but the cover-up happened in the administration of Lori Lightfoot. Okay, that's a very important point to make. On Monday, I think it was Monday night, as I said, Dave Savini, investigative reporter at CBS, released his story, and people saw the footage, which was released over the objection, the vociferous objection of lawyers for the city. A federal judge ordered it released. The city was in court fighting to contain that video so it would not be released. The mayor was asked about it at his press conference yesterday, and she made some kind of comments along the lines of that she wasn't aware of what was going on. And then last night at 8:30, she released the following statement. And I will now read this statement. Quote, "Today, I became aware of an incident involving Ms. Anjanette Young from February 2019, before I became mayor, and I saw a video today for the first time. I had no knowledge of either until today. I had a very emotional reaction to what was depicted on the video, as I imagine that many people did." End of quote. She concludes by saying, quote, "Since this matter is the subject of litigation and an open investigation, I will have no further comment," end of quote. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the question we have to ask ourselves is Mayor Lori Lightfoot telling the truth when she says, "I became aware of an incident involving Miss Anjanette Young, and I saw a video today for the first time"? Is that true? Lawyers for the city of Chicago were in court fighting the release of that video. Lawyers were in court essentially asking a judge to sanction Anjanette Young if she released that video. Is it possible that lawyers for the city of Chicago would be acting without the approval of Mayor Lori Lightfoot? Could it possibly be that she only saw that video when the rest of us saw it? This reminds me so much of Mayor Rahm and the Laquan McDonald video. Remember that, D? Mayor Rahm said, "I never saw the Laquan McDonald video until it was released. The general public saw it, just before the general public saw it, like well over a year after the murder of Laquan McDonald." I didn't believe Mayor Rahm. So do I believe Mayor Lori Lightfoot when she says, quote, "Today I became aware of an incident involving Miss Anjanette Young, and I saw a video today for the first time. I had no knowledge of either until today"? We definitely need more information about this. We need more information about the timeline. We need more information about when the lawsuits were filed, when the FOIA request went out. We need a lot more information about this. This is very disturbing because it raises all kinds of questions about, once again, as a mayor of the city of Chicago, concealing evidence of police misconduct. I thought we had moved on from this. I thought that part of the reason that people voted for Lori Lightfoot in 2019 is because they wanted to move on from this. What is it about the pressures of being mayor of Chicago that could make it so tempting to conceal evidence like this? All right. Let the debate and discussion begin. I know I'm going to be asking guests on this show as they come on the show. Probably Monroe will be the first one who gets the question. Do you believe it? When she says, today I became aware of an incident and I saw a video today for the first time. So D, it's very distressing. It's very upsetting. I thought we moved on from it. Apparently, we're just determined to remain stuck in our old ways.
All right, well, we did have a public event scheduled for the mayor today. And confession time. It's hands down our favorite Lori Lightfoot public event. Today, the mayor presided over the Chicago City Council meeting. By the way, our least favorite Lori Lightfoot public event, her acoustic concert night, live from the Hideout. Oh, boy. She's no Todd Lundgren, guys, or whatever that guy's name is.
I believe it begins with an R.
Oh,
Rundgren.
Todd Rundgren. She's
Yeah,
no.
I believe. Okay, I believe. I'm not quite sure about it, but I'm pretty sure it begins with an R. Just saying, D.
The city council meeting was once again virtual, and well, the story we were talking about there earlier has kind of taken top priority in the local news media, so I have yet to get the exact details of today's city council meeting. But thanks to the one and only Fran the Woman Spielman of the Chicago Sun-Times, we have learned that Mayor Lightfoot was planning on, maybe she did, like I said, don't have the details, on finally delivering on a campaign promise, a promise to eliminate exceptions in Chicago's welcoming city ordinance that let Chicago police officers work with immigrant agents or immigration agents. Shout out to our good friend, 35th Ward Alderman Carlos Ramirez Rosa. He is listed as a co-sponsor of the mayor's ordinance. Ramirez Rosa called it a, quote, great day for the immigrant and refugee rights community. He also said, quote, if this passes, and once again, waiting for the update, I'll let you know when it does. He says, we will be able to definitively tell the hundreds of thousands of undocumented immigrants and U.S. citizens who are family members of undocumented immigrants do not fear to call 911 because of your immigration status. We will finally be able to tell them authoritatively and definitively that they should have no fear of their local police as it relates to federal immigration law enforcement because local police and ICE cannot cooperate in any single case.
All right. By the way, I just want to say this. Another pre-show production phone call I made, D, was to Dave Glowatz, our A-City Hall reporter. And he assured me that we will have another segment of Dave Glowatz. What do we call it? I don't even know. We got to get a better name for whatever we call it.
Hey, I like the name a lot. It's a city council synopsis with our good friend, Mr. Bike, Dave Glowatz.
That is correct.
There you go. That's our name. So we'll do another one. I've already booked him for the show. He's dutifully studying and breaking down the footage as we speak. You know, I could just see him with these giant computers splicing and dicing and get into that moment, that great moment in the show where he just leans forward and he says, Dennis, play Lori Lightfoot. And Dennis is like, why can't the regular host be like this? This is how you run a show. And he pushes the little button and you hear Lori Lightfoot. As opposed to, yo, D, man, play that thing. Anyway, yes, back to the welcoming ordinance. This I think Lori Lightfoot campaigned on this as well. And then she tried to make it part of the budget process. All right, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep my promise on the welcoming city ordinance if you vote for my budget. And Carlos Ramirez Rosa, and it was like, I may have been born at night, but I wasn't born last night. You were going to do that anyway. It's like, if I were to say to Dennis, I'll tell you what.
What?
If you do that smashing bottle thing, I'll pay you your salary. And Dennis would be like, hey, wait a minute. You were supposed to pay me my salary anyway, even if I don't do the smashing bottle thing. I'm not as dumb as I look. And that's sort of what went down in the city council. So she didn't get the vote of Carlos Ramirez Rosa on the budget. She didn't get the vote of who else? Rosana Rodriguez Sanchez on the budget, or Byron Sixto Lopez on the budget. These are members of the city council's Latino caucus. But she did agree to take out the carve-outs in the welcoming city ordinance. So good for Lori Lightfoot on this front. She made good on a promise from the campaign. So let's give her credit for that, Dee.
All right. Like we said, we're going to be providing you here with more on what went down when it becomes available. And, of course, it's only a matter of time till Dave Glowacz is back on the show with his city council synopsis. All right. Frank's weighing in on the live stream chat with a different name. What about Mr. City Council? Maybe we need to change the name.
That's actually not bad. Mr. Bike. It's kind of a play on the word. Mr. Bike, Mr. City. Just saying, huh?
All right. I'm kind of liking Mr. City Council. Okay.
I could be one of those famous Ben Joravsky show meetings. You, me, Velma, Billy Bob, Jake, Joe, the whole crew. Freddie, Henry, I don't want to forget anybody. Susie, Lynn, Becky. Becky. I don't know where that came from. Just the whole crew of our
I don't know
staff.
where any of this is coming from. Those are all fake people. What are you talking about?
Rom? Don't we have an intern named Rom? Yes, I think there's an intern named Rom. Hey, I want donuts, anyone?
All right, if you haven't yet, check out our our Mr. City Council interview with Dave Glowacz. He covered the last city council meeting, and boy, it was a barn burner.
You made me cry. You touched my heart, and I appreciate you.
Oh, okay. Moving on. After President-elect Joe Biden said that he was willing to compromise on a coronavirus relief package that does not include replacement revenue for state and local governments, Mayor Lightfoot spoke up and went to bat for Chicago. Oh, that was good. Lightfoot on Tuesday implored President-elect Joe Biden and Democratic congressional leaders not to leave pandemic-ravaged cities and states out in the cold in the next round of stimulus funding. Here's the quote from Lightfoot. Quote, I'm very disappointed about what I'm seeing as the... wait, hold on a second. All right, let's try it again. Quote, we'll edit that out.
It's gone. Ladies and gentlemen, you will not hear that on a podcast at all. Yeah, because Dennis is the one to edit. Well, I'll take that out.
Start over here. Let's start over. 3, 2, 1. Here's the quote from Lightfoot. Quote, I'm very disappointed about what I'm seeing as the developments. I don't know that that's the incoming Biden administration as much as it is what's going on in the Senate. The virus had a disastrous impact on economies, local, state, all across the country. The notion that somehow a package would move and get to the president's desk or signature and there would be zero relief for state and local governments is absolutely unacceptable. I am not someone who says this way or no way, but what are we talking about here?
Wait, did she actually say that? I'm not someone who said this way or no way?
Yeah.
She actually said that?
Yeah.
Wait, I thought she was the mayor who said, I'll take your car, I'll make you walk, I'll make you do a somersault. What happened to that mayor?
I don't know, dude. What, you mean? You mean this mayor?
I won't just turn the car around. I'm going to shut it off. I'm going to kick you out, and I'm going to make you walk home.
Yeah, that mayor. That sounds like a my way or the highway kind of mayor, as opposed to Mayor Nice that's dealing with the Senate and the president-elect. Anyway, I didn't mean to interrupt you, D. Go ahead.
But wait, there's more. Mayor Lightfoot goes on saying, quote, if we give in to the heartless Mitch McConnell on so many issues, where is the floor? We are setting a dangerous precedent for the future that will make the new administration's work that much harder. Because what it says is, if Mitch McConnell draws the line, no matter how unreasonable, we are going to capitulate to that heartless man who has done so much harm to this country.
Yeah, I agree with Mayor Lori Life. We'll probably do a deeper dive on this point when we get to the Governor Pritzker part of the news, correct, Dee? When we get to that's a little pre-show prep, but I basically agree with Lori Lightfoot and that it's inexcusable, in my humble opinion, that aid for cities and states were not included in these stimulus and relief packages, whatever you want to call them, that are coming out of Congress. And furthermore, it's pretty outrageous that Republicans would be so heartlessly indifferent to the needs of states and cities. And we'll be talking about this at greater length when we talk about Governor Pritzker. But in terms of Mayor Lori Lightfoot, she has many allies in corporate and civic Chicago who are of the Republican persuasion. Young Kenny G, Ken Griffin, ally of Mayor Lori Lightfoot. They have nice things to say about each other. And I've always wondered about this. The same goes true for Mayor Rahm, who had many allies in the Republican community of downtown Chicago. When will those alliances ever benefit the people of Chicago? You know, I mean, I know that like Mayor Rahm could call Kenny G and Kenny G would kick in, he would dip into his petty cash fund, pay some money to redo the bike path. Okay. But how about some legitimate lobbying on behalf of Republicans, on behalf of the people of Chicago? How about if the Kenny G's of the world actually went to Republicans like Mitch McConnell and said, hey, my hometown is really hurting and we could use some assistance? When is that ever going to happen? Why is it only that the benefit that we get out of a mayor, a Democratic mayor, having rich Republican friends is like a dip into the petty cash every now and then? Like Mayor Lori Lightfoot's friend sold computers. He didn't even give them away. He sold them. We talked about this yesterday with Maya as well. Sold the computers. So I don't know, maybe he sold them for less than he could have sold them. Let's give him that. But why is that the only thing we get out of mayors having good relations with rich Republicans? I just, for once, would like to see the Kenny G's of the world, the Bruce Rounders of the world, all those corporate Republicans who have their offices in downtown Chicago, for once, go to the Republican Party, the National Republican Party, on behalf of the city that they've made their fortunes in. Just once. Can you do that, guys? I don't think it's asking for too much.
All right, another city news. Mercy Hospital will stay open. A state board on Tuesday unanimously rejected a plan to close the Bronzeville Hospital after hours of testimony from community members, activists, doctors, and nurses. The Illinois Health Facilities and Services Review Board voted 6-0 to keep it open.
Indeed. They did keep it open. Hold on, let me get my Sun-Times article about this. Hold on, Dee. Hold on. Sun-Times article. Oh, yeah. Hold on, Dee.
All right. We'll be editing that one out. We'll edit that one out as well. Let's just start from the top here. 3, 2, 1.
Actually, I kind of like that part in there, but whatever. If it's, if it makes me look good, edit it out.
No, it's definitely staying in.
It's the part of the story I appreciate it. Yeah, so the people who run Mercy Hospital, hold on, I have to sneeze. We're going to edit this out right now. Hold on.
Sure,
First, I'll turn off. You got to talk now. Just say, how your day is going.
My day is going great. We really appreciate you listening to the Ben Joravsky Show, the sneezing
All
Ben
right.
Joravsky Show. Oh, okay, great.
Okay, so here we go. The people who run Mercy Hospital decided that it's no longer, they're going to lose too much money. They can't operate it anymore. So they want to close it. They want to go out of the hospital business. Apparently that made a very convincing justification for wanting to close the hospital to the people who work at the hospital, the doctors who work there, the nurses who work there, or more important, or just as important, the people who use the hospital on the near south side. So it was those nurses and doctors and patients who came before the state board to plead that they reject the appeal to close the hospital. And so now the hospital can't close. And so that's interesting. What do they got? My concern is that they can bleed it dry. Can you force a hospital to stay in operation if the hospital doesn't want to stay in operation? I don't know. But I'm definitely with, this is like when neighborhoods change, when you have people moved out of Chicago. Suddenly, there's not a great demand for hospitals, and hospitals close. We've seen it happen throughout the city of Chicago over the last 30 years. But there's still people who live in the neighborhood. So, it's problematic. So I'm glad that the hospital's staying open. And I do want to say this. One of the people who testified at the hearing is former Illinois Governor Pat Quinn. And he was speaking up on behalf of the residents in the area who wanted the hospital open. He blasted Trinity, who owns the hospital, for closing during a pandemic, calling it, quote, preposterous. This is corporate medicine at its worst, Quinn said. And I'm going to say this about Pat Quinn. Pat Quinn, a good friend of this show, comes on all the time. Hasn't been on in a while. I should reach out to him. But, he's a better ex-governor than Mayor Rahm is an ex-mayor. Or I would even go so far as to say as Barack Obama is an ex-president. He's lending his name and his legacy and his newsworthiness and his notoriety to causes like helping keep a hospital open in a neighborhood that's gentrifying and poor people are being moved out. And so right now they don't need the hospital. But if the gentrification takes hold and like wealthy people move to that neighborhood, suddenly they're going to need a hospital. They're going to need schools. They're going to reopen all those schools that they closed. So I give Pat Quinn credit for that. It's very rare that I get the feeling that an ex-official, like a governor, a president, or mayor, uses his or her notoriety to help people less fortunate than themselves as opposed to helping themselves. That's generally what happened. They cash in. Like Bush, I'll give him this. He just disappeared and just started painting, which is, I guess, not bad, but.
By the way, can we hear George W. Bush crying?
Wait, it's been so long. I gotta hold on. It's been so long since I've heard the voice, George W. Bush. Criminal, terrible. It's terrible. No, terrible. Gee, I got to go listen to some George. I used to have a pretty good George W. Bush. Terrible. Yeah, wasn't he the one who said terrible all the time? Terrible. Terrible.
Yeah. Him and Charles Barkley both kind of said it.
Yeah, right. George Bush.
That was a great impression of George Bush's chicken, by the way.
Anyway, I think George Bush, a horrible president. And by the way, I just read it was an essay some lefty wrote. I don't know who. I can't remember who wrote it. Saying that George Bush's presidency was actually more destructive than Donald Trump's. The guy made a very convincing argument. 2 wars, making up weapons of mass destruction as a justification for the first war. And they were saying, well, the distinction between George Bush and Donald Trump, follow me on this, is that after George Bush was outed for having just made up the whole weapons of mass destruction thing, he didn't insist on maintaining it was the truth. And he just kind of stopped discussing it. Whereas Donald Trump will just keep saying his lie is the truth. So that's an important distinction. Like you can make the argument that George Bush was actually less destructive than Donald Trump because he didn't insist that the lies were truths. But anyway, so a shout out to Pat Quinn for taking the stand on behalf of Mercy, the people who use Mercy in the community that Mercy would be abandoning.
All right, and one more thing out of Chicago. I mean, it's technically Chicago news. Yes, Mayor Pete Buttigieg will be Joe Biden's transportation secretary. No, Rahm Emanuel will not. But according to the Chicago Sun-Times and one Lynn Sweet, there is still hope yet for Rahm Emanuel in the Joe Biden administration.
Thank you, Chicago, for this humbling victory. All I can say, you sure know how to make a guy feel at home.
That person yelling loudly there at the end could be Joe Biden. Seems like a fan, just saying.
Oh, my God. I forgot. Where did you get that clip?
I think it was like when he first got elected. I just, when we first started the show, I just went and found Rahm clips. That's an old one.
So
that's
an
oldie.
That was when he first got elected?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Oh, God, what a memory that is.
Thank you, Chicago, for this humbling victory. All I can say, you sure know how to make a guy feel at home.
Yeah, I think it was the first victory because if you recall, you make a guy feel at home. In that first election, there was an issue of whether Aram had met the residency requirement. Remember that, D? They had kind of like changed the law. Of all the things to change the law about, or to have creative interpretations of the law, think about this. To make sure Rahm could be our mayor. Guy was a terrible mayor. Now, I know there's a few Northsiders, Gold Coasters who would disagree with me, but I think most people in Chicago would finally come around to agree with you. Yeah, terrible mayor. And so, like, you know, I could see fudging the residency requirements to make, I don't know, who would be a good mayor of Chicago? Can't think of any. Bernie Sanders. Let's fudge the residency requirements to make a guy who lives in Vermont the mayor of Chicago. But Rahm, I don't know. You could have found any old Republican in downtown Chicago who could have done what Rahm did: close 50 schools, close mental health clinics, you know, impose horrific TIF deals on us, shove it down our throats, conceal evidence of a police shooting. Pretty much anybody could have done that. I had to come up with creative residency rules. So, D, I think it was the first. That's my guess. It was the first. It was the first election.
Lynn Sweet writes, President-elect Joe Biden is not picking Rahm Emanuel to be transportation secretary, who wanted it. Instead, announcing Tuesday he is selecting Pete Buttigieg, who is lobbying for other posts. However, the resilient ex-Chicago mayor, the first chief of staff for former President Barack Obama, remains in play for multiple roles, and Lynn Sweet has been told that includes high-level ambassadorship jobs. Ben Joravsky, you have to admit, Ambassador Rahm does have a nice ring to it.
Yes. And if you recall, D, and I know you don't recall this because you didn't even know I existed, but back in 2013 or 12, I urged President Obama, good fan of Dennis, he's a great guy, love Alden. I asked President Obama in a column in the Reader, please make Rahm an ambassador to something. In fact, I had a country. How about making Rahm the ambassador of Far, Far Away, the country called Far, Far Away, as in far, far away from Chicago.
Oh, far, far away.
Yeah, far, far away. It's a country. Like, it's far, far away. Just make it make up a country. I could just see Biden call Rahm in. Oh, Rahm, I think suddenly I have Biden talking like Obama.
Yeah, you're all over the map here.
I don't have a Biden invitation.
There it is. Nailed it.
Rahm, you're a little hard of hearing. Rahm, I've decided you're a great guy. You have so many qualifications. I'm going to make you ambassador to far, far, far away. It's a country in the Pacific Ocean. Go. Here's your passport. Thanks, boss. Where's Rahm? I mean, Rahm, he's got a nice gig. I mean, he's on the George Stephanopoulos show. Pat Whalen watches it. In fact, Pat Whalen's now fallen in a habit. Ace, Ben Joravsky's show correspondent.
Well, and I heard before the whole pandemic, he was planning on being George Stephanopoulos for Halloween, that Pat Whalen.
Yes, Pat Whalen was.
He loves
Pat
that
Whalen
show.
Star, let's just get it out here. Star, the FanDuel commercial. Who? What? Wait, I blew the line. What is it again? Who? What? Wait, who? No, that's it. Wait, who? That Pat Whalen. Every Sunday watches Rahm and Chris Christie, and he's now texting me updates about what Rahm said and Christie said. Every Sunday I wake up at bright and early at noon, and there's a text from Pat Whalen telling me what was on the show. But anyway, he's got a pretty good life. I don't know why he wants to go work back in government, you know? I don't know. I don't know. Hey, Rahm, wait a minute. I thought you loved Chicago so much, right? Isn't it your home? You love the city so much, just stay in Chicago. Why you got to be in the Biden administration? I don't know. Guy just wants to be in the game, D. Just wants to be in the game.
All right. And, yeah, I don't know. Ambassador Rom, I'm hoping for it. Like I said, that would help us, with some content on the Ben Joravsky show. You know what I mean?
Ambassador Rom, yes, in the country of far, far, far away.
Far. Mayor Rom, we're going to send you to far away.
Well, sounds good to me. Thanks, President Obama.
Great. Now get the hell out of my face.
It's a little island in the Pacific. You can only get there by a rowboat. So start rowing. Well, okay.
Near F office stand. It's far away. Yeah. All right, and finally, Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker.
Face coverings.
Yes, face coverings. Today, the governor will be at the Thompson Center for his 2:30 COVID-19 press briefing about Tuesday's Pritzker pandemic presser. The first doses of COVID-19 vaccine are being administered in Illinois. Illinois Department of Public Health Director Dr. Ezike. I got a quick question here. How long until everyone who needs a vaccine gets one? What are we talking here? Few weeks or something?
It will be many, many months. I think most
God.
of 2021 will be spent in this effort. But I'm excited for the engagement and for the support of the community to get this done as rapidly as possible.
Interesting.
Wait, don't you have any more of those things? I love it when you do like so tell me, Dr. Ezike, how long will it take? And then you push the button. You don't have any more of those?
Well, I don't know. J.B. Pritzker, what's the best possible way to prevent me getting COVID-19?
Face coverings.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you very much. Interesting.
All right. J.B. Pritzker. Wait, D.
What?
I'm really ready. I want to talk about J.B. Pritzker and the budget. That's what I really want to talk about.
Well, also on the docket, the Illinois state budget. There will be cuts, and they will be painful. Those were Pritzker's words right after he shaved his quarantine beard a month back. I'm just kidding, actually.
Wait, I don't remember the quarantine beard. Did that actually happen?
I don't know.
Make that up?
I don't know.
Okay.
Actually, that's what he said right after the Illinois general election and right after his fair tax initiative failed to get the votes needed to pass. And what do you know? He was right.
Don't believe me? Well, consider these facts.
Governor, please. The following comes from the Sun-Times and Rachel Hinton. Governor J.B. Pritzker said Tuesday he authorized more than $711 million in budget cuts in offices under his control for the current fiscal year in an attempt to close a nearly $4 billion budget gap. Pritzker said his administration has, quote, scoured the budget to try to reduce the effect of the cuts on residents, but with a move to a graduated income tax off the table, there will be a real human impact here. Here's the quote from Pritzker, quote, "This gets us part of the way toward addressing the budget deficit for additional and more permanent balancing of our budgets going forward. I will work with the legislature, but make no mistake, legislative action and engagement is required. While short-term federal help may yet come, we need to take action to maintain fiscal stability over the long run and address the problems that plagued Illinois' pre-pandemic."
Yeah, what a joke on so many levels. Number one, it's nice that he was working with the legislator. I don't know if the legislator's not even meeting because they couldn't pass a bill to have virtual meetings of the legislature. So I don't know what working is going on in Illinois, man. I just got finished talking about Chicago, how we're determined never to learn from our mistakes. Illinois is a piece of work. D, what is wrong with me? I could have lived anywhere. And I decided I was going to move to Chicago, Illinois. And I've made this my home for almost 40 years. Anyway, let's take this point by point. In that same story, the same Rachel Hinton story that Dennis just alluded to, there's a quote from Jim Durkin, who is the leading Republican in the House of Representatives. And he's really upset. He's bashing J.B. Pritzker. D, I'm going to read to you that Durkin quote, okay? Instead of living within our means, Pritzker administration attempted to trick voters into raising taxes and were sorely rejected by Democratic, Republican, and independent voters across the state. We hope the governor uses his authority to call the General Assembly into session so that we can look to move Illinois forward by fixing the problems the Democrats have created. What a freaking joke. What a joke, ladies and gentlemen. J.B. Pritzker was clear. I give him credit for this. He said, I'm balancing this budget with the fair tax. You pass the fair tax, you're going to have a balanced budget. You don't pass the fair tax, we're going to have cuts. The fair tax would have raised the rates on the wealthiest people in the state of Illinois so that he could maintain the rates where they are on poorest people in Illinois and lower income people in general. All right? That's the reality. You knew that. And you still voted against the fair tax, voters of Illinois. Republicans fought like hell against the fair tax. Why? Because if you're Kenny G, the aforementioned Kenny G, who funded most of those advertisements, you wanted to save money. You wanted to pay less. You don't believe in government. You'd rather, I don't know, do without it. You want to have an excuse to destroy pensions in the state of Illinois, have them go bankrupt. That was the policy of Bruce Rauner. That was the policy of the Republican Party that Jim Durkin was a loyal member of. So how Jim Durkin is lecturing J.B. Pritzker on budgets? Where was all this care about the fiduciary interest of the people in the state of Illinois when Bruce Rauner was the governor not passing budgets? Where was working with the legislature when it was Bruce Rauner who was in charge? And I bring it up because it's very relevant. You have to raise money if you're going to run government. If you don't want to make good on your obligations that you have, if that's what your intentions are, like Bruce Rauner and Kenny G, then you try to cut the amount of money that government gets. All right, so what gets cut? Road repair, does that get cut? Education, does that get cut? Does law enforcement get cut? You got to cut money for police officers, et cetera, and so forth. Huh? You got to cut out environmental regulations. You're going to cut money for that. I know the Republicans are really big for cutting pensions. They want to cut pensions. Well, right now it's against the Constitution to cut the pensions. So unless you're going to unleash a referendum to change that, you got to pay those obligations. So to pretend as though that you can go through life without paying your obligations is more irresponsible than having a budget that's based on a fair tax that hasn't passed. And so it's really hard for me to sit here and hear the lectures from Republicans in Springfield about what Democrats should be doing. The other thing, and this gets back to the point that Dennis made earlier with Mayor Lori Lightfoot, is that the Republican Party in the state of Illinois was absolutely worthless when it came to trying to get Mitch McConnell, a Republican and the head of the Republican Senate, and Donald Trump, a Republican president, to dedicate money to the state of Illinois, which was suffering because of the pandemic. In fact, they fought like hell against money going to states. In fact, Donald Trump made it clear he didn't care if blue states like Illinois went bankrupt. They aren't going to vote for him. He was only about helping red states, states that would vote for him. And where was Jim Durkin to stand up to that worldview? Where was Kenny G to stand up to Donald Trump? Nowhere. They were absolutely worthless in that larger fight. So now with this situation where all of a sudden they're being so responsible about our fiduciary interests in the state of Illinois. They ignored all these issues when Bruce Rauner was the governor. They ignored these issues when it came to pressing Donald Trump and Mitch McConnell for aid. And now they want to criticize Pritzker. Well, we're really in a pickle here in the state of Illinois, to put it mildly. Tremendous budget needs. And I'm not sure any Republican will join the cause to get Mitch McConnell to help us. In fact, the Republicans are working against that. So really our hope is to win Georgia. And Republicans are working against that. So it's really hard, Dee, for me to take Republicans, take them seriously as allies in this effort to save Illinois from going bankrupt. Because it seems to me for like the last 6 years, they've been determined to do just that. make Illinois go bankrupt.
All right. Pritzker was also asked about the latest in Madigan Gate, the time that, and altogether, everyone, utility bigwigs, ComEd, admitted to arranging jobs, contracts, and payoffs to the associates of Illinois Democratic House Speaker, one Michael Joseph Madigan.
That is correct.
Good job, everybody. Pritzker was asked about Madigan Gate and more specifically that investigation that was recently canceled by our Illinois conservative friends. And surprisingly, Pritzker stated that he was disappointed the committee investigating Madigan didn't call him to testify in the bribery scheme.
Time and time again that the speaker needs to answer questions. These are very troubling allegations against him. And the next phase of this is clearly in the hands of the General Assembly. But I'm really disappointed that with the forum of the special committee, that was not taken up as an opportunity to answer questions. But listen, the speaker can hold a press conference today. He could call one right now and answer questions, and I would hope that he will.
The governor has been very clear in his words. He has said the speaker should address these issues.
That was Chris Welch.
Man, all these guys are starting to sound like us, D. We've been saying the same thing for either stand up and address the issues and quit the Wizard of Oz, I'm hiding behind the curtain routine. By the way, if we hear Pritzker says, you got to quit the Wizard of Oz routine, we know he's been stealing our stuff, D.
Well, I potted the audio down. There was more. Chris Welch did a cat out of the bag impression. They are stealing our stuff.
Could you wait? Do you have that to play that?
I'm lying.
Oh.
Like, duh, dude. Why would he do that? Oh, take me serious, guys. Why would he do that? Why would he do that?
No, I didn't. Okay. Just to clarify, I didn't think literally you meant a kind of like, I thought he said Wizard. I thought you were going to say he said Wizard of Oz. Like, what?
No.
Wouldn't that be amazing? Yeah, stop being the Wizard of Oz. By the way, shameless promotion of upcoming interview. Dan Mihalopoulos was on the show yesterday, a bonus feature. 45 minutes of two Chicago political geeks talking about Madigan Gate. It was a lot of fun for me. Danny probably knows more about this story than anybody else. Well, Dave McKinney over at BEZ has been following it as well, Tony Arnold. But Dan's been following Madigan Gate from the get-go. And so we just take it from A to Z. And we addressed the issue of J.B. Pritzker and Michael Madigan. And the reality is that J.B. Pritzker does not control enough votes in the State House to get those representatives to turn against Mad Dog, at least at the moment. So if he did, he would, right, D? He would say, hey, come on, let's end this right now. And they'd make Chris Welch the Speaker of the House, or somebody the Speaker of the House. Doesn't have to be Chris Welch. But obviously, Pritzker doesn't have the votes. So I urge everybody to check out that interview, the conversation I had with Dan Mihalopoulos when it drops this Saturday. I see the great, the legendary Monroe Anderson has joined us. We're going to take a break. We're going to bring Monroe on to talk Trump, Biden, and I'm going to throw a Lori Lightfoot question at Monroe Anderson. No ducking and dodging. We'll be right back with Monroe Anderson.
Can you be my Christmas on the west side? Christmas on the south side? Christmas on the north side? Christmas on the east side? Christmas on the west side? Christmas on the south side? Christmas on the north side? Christmas on the east side? All around the world. Baby, please come to me. Let me be your fantasy. Baby, like the tree, I will be all that you need. Unwrap you underneath the mistletoe. We can sip some wine, kiss you from head to toe. Baby, don't you ever let me go. I want you to know it's alright. Wishing you'd be my boo. Can you please be my Christmas? Wrap your arms around me. step this way. Come on, baby, ride with me in my sleigh. Tonight we're gonna party, girl. It's time to play. And you gon' do it on Christmas Day and go all the way. Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas Day. Feliz Navidad, baby. Feliz Navidad. Wishing you be my boo. Can you please be my Christmas? Be my Christmas, baby. Be my Christmas baby. Wishing please can you be with me, baby, on this Christmas? I got something very nice for you, and got your shorty baby too, baby. My stuff, right here, baby. Your stuff, my stuff, right here, baby. We want some gifts. Gotta have some gifts. We want some gifts. Gotta have some gifts. Christmas, baby. I got you your Christmas wish. Santa gave me your list, baby. Come wrap your arms around me. Wishing you'd be my boo. Can you please be my
Read the Chicago Reader to get up to speed on what's what in Chicago. Culture, food, arts and entertainment, weekly concert listings, weekly event listings, the environment, travel. I can continue, but you get the point. And for all of you Chicago political junkies, raw weekly columns on real city politics from Maya Dukmasova and our very own Ben Joravsky. The Chicago Reader, free to the public in newsstands throughout the city and online at chicagoreader.com. Read it now and be a more informed Chicagoan. Hour number 2 of your Ben Joravsky Show is brought to you by Chicago Reader and the Chicago Federation of Labor. Benny J, take it away.
Every Wednesday on the Ben Joravsky Show, legendary Chicago journalist Monroe Anderson, the pride and joy of Gary, Indiana, joins us. And Monroe, I'm really happy to say that you put, I'm reading it right now, you put an update on the Facebook page. I'm going to read it, and that'll be our cheat sheet. We'll take it from there with the interview. So this is what Monroe put on his Facebook wall. Did you know that lame duck Donald is on a killing spree? I'm not talking about the 3,000 Americans who are dying every day because he surrendered to the coronavirus. No, it's a federal executions. The New York crime boss, who claims to be the law and order president, is the first president in more than a century who has ordered executions during his lame duck session. Ben and I will be discussing this, Bill Barr's quitting firing, Trump's feeble attempt at taking credit for the coronavirus, and Mayor Pete's new post as transportation chief. We're just talking about this on the Ben Joravsky Show. Monroe, great job with your Facebook post. I know it's got Trump people riled up. And before we get started, let's just take a moment to celebrate the fact that on Monday, was it Monday? I'm losing track. Yeah, Monday, the electors met throughout the country and elected Joe Biden as our next president of the United States, meaning it's just a matter of time before Donnie Trump walks out that door, to quote Gloria Gaynor. It was a great moment, wasn't it, Monroe?
Well, not according to Trump's people. It's not over yet. There's other things are going to happen. Now, what exactly? They're waiting on either January 6th or January 21st, the 20th, when he's dragged out of the White House kicking and screaming. So Actually, they should drag him out on the 19th because they need to fumigate the place.
Well, okay. By the way, okay, let's just break those two things down before we get to Barr and Mayor Pete, et cetera, and so forth. January 6th is when the Senate and the House meet to officially what they call count the votes, count the elector votes. It's just a procedural thing, and it's just like a rubber stamp of something that's already gone down. But you're right. Some Republicans are fantasizing that objections are raised and that votes are taken to somehow or other replace the electors who actually voted for Biden with electors who will vote for Donald Trump. And your dear friend, Senator Mitch McConnell, kind of slammed the door on that one yesterday when he said, what? I congratulate Joe Biden. Wasn't that sort of an indication that that's not going to happen, Monroe?
Yeah, exactly. No, he told his people, don't be messing with this at all. Mitch has painted himself into a corner, and so he's trying to figure out how to get out because if you'll recall, he just literally got around to saying President-elect Biden. Putin hours before Putin said, "All right, my puppet is out. Biden's going to be the new guy." I tried. I didn't make it.
You think? You know what? It's funny. We always talk about the Barry Goldwater moment when some ally of the president would come to him and say, it's over, you have to leave, much like Barry Goldwater, former U.S. Senator Barry Goldwater, went to the White House in 1974 and told Richard Nixon, you're going to have to leave. Right. Because maybe the Barry Goldwater moment for Trump will be a phone call from Vladimir Putin.
Right.
Son, you're going to have to leave.
He'll say, no, either you leave or I release the tapes.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. He's got the tapes. By the way, Monroe Anderson's Vladimir Putin imitation, that's a first on the Joravsky show.
I'm still brushing up on my Russian.
Yeah, your Russian's got a little work to go. By the way, we were going to talk about Georgia, so I'm going to move Georgia to the top of the list because I think there's a connection. Get your thoughts on this. Mitch McConnell suddenly recognizing that Joe Biden is, in fact, the president-elect and did, in fact, win a majority of the votes. I think over 7 million votes he defeated Donald Trump by. And it was every bit as much an electoral college landslide as the one that Trump got over Hillary Clinton. So he finally recognized that. What connection do you see, Monroe? I mean, Mitch McConnell doesn't do anything unless he has like a very pragmatic reason for it. Right. My guess is that he thinks it will help him to do this in Georgia. Your thoughts, please.
My guess is it was hurting him not to continue doing what he was doing. He's seeing polls that says that that Americans in general, Georgians in particular, don't like the fact that they're not recognizing President-elect Biden. And he's also hearing from his people, well, his people are hearing from his people, that the Republicans out there throughout the nation who don't like Trump saying that it was rigged, that they either didn't know what they were doing as vote counters and poll people. Either they didn't know what they were doing or they were crooked and let Biden win. But either way, they don't like being tagged that way, labeled that way. And they've been complaining to Mitch. Mm-hmm. And so it's probably the two things combined. And plus we have in Georgia, we literally have a circular firing squad. Yeah. Sidney Powell is there telling them that it's rigged and don't vote. You don't have to be a political genius to figure out who that hurts and who that helps. You know?
Yeah. Raphael Warnock and John Ossoff, Democratic candidates for Senate and the special Senate races in Georgia. Once more time, I know all my listeners know this because they're political geeks, but just in case there's someone out there who doesn't know this, if both those two Democrats win the special election on January 5th, guess what? It's a 50-50 tie in the Senate, and that means that Kamala Harris, Vice President Kamala Harris, is the deciding vote. That means that Democrats take control of the Senate. So everything's at stake, and I think which Mitch realizes that, and I guess it's his way, Monroe, of saying, you know what, I got to get away from Donnie because I'm going to lose Georgia. The problem is, just think about this, Monroe. Over the weekend, the horrendous scenes in Washington where Proud Boys, the racist, white supremacist group that supports Donald Trump, were out there beating up black people.
Told to stand down and stand by.
Yes.
Yeah.
Stand by. Yeah. And then, meanwhile, Kelly Loeffler, I don't know if you saw this. There was a photograph that broke of her posing. This photograph was unbelievable, Monroe. I'm on a tangent with a tangent. I don't know if you saw this, but Kelly Loeffler, who is a senator and running for re-election in Georgia, was posing just recently with a white racist. What's that?
The QAnon woman?
No. Kelly Loeffler of the Senate. She was posing with a white racist. And they're standing right next to each other. Neither of them is wearing a mask. So it's like, I'm not quite sure which is more detrimental to her campaign, posing with the white racist, or in the middle of the pandemic when people are dying, posing with them, and neither of them are wearing a mask. I think
they're more tongue kissing.
Yes. I'm grateful for that. But that's where the Republican Party is right now.
Right.
And as pessimistic as I generally am, I'm having a hard time believing that going maskless in the middle of a pandemic and posing maskless with a white supremacist is a ticket toward victory in the state of Georgia.
Right. She's an appointed senator. She didn't win the seat.
That's correct.
This time she will be an elected senator.
Yes. So
and she has a clue. She's rich and privileged, and she thinks that she bought the seat or something.
Yeah, I'm starting to think that you may be correct. You predicted 2 for 2 for the Democrats in Georgia, correct?
Yes.
And you're sticking with that?
I'm sticking with it. It's a gut thing, and a head thing, in that for the past 10 years, the Democrats have been building a machine in Georgia, where they can turn out the votes and where they could educate people. And that's why Biden won outright. And why I think that it's now a turnout competition. Yeah. And I think the Democrats are going to turn out more people.
Well, I hope you're right. And the news out of Georgia was interesting yesterday. Very high numbers of people already voting.
Right.
Very high numbers. And to your point that you started with, Trump and the Republicans have been assailing the notion that you do a vote by mail. And they've been promoting day voting, voting on the election day voting, I should say.
And what's even worse is Trump keeps talking about how the election was stolen. And so there are a number of Republicans who are saying, well, the Democrats are going to steal it anyway, so why should I bother to vote?
Well, I don't feel sorry for Donald Trump or the Republicans at all. All right, let's move on to William Barr. Attorney General William Barr resigned rather than go down with the ship. What do they say about rats fleeing a sinking ship? Yeah. Anyway, William Barr resigned. You mentioned this on your Facebook page. William Barr's legacy, Monroe. Talk about that.
The worst lawyer, chief lawyer for the people ever in the history of the country. I mean, he is the worst. He still may get impeached or get some sort of law thing going on. He disbarred or something. Something bad may happen to him. There are theories that as part of his resigning, because what he did, Trump forced him out. Trump said he was going to fire him. Barr is no Sessions. So rather than continue to take Trump's abuse, he and Trump came to some sort of agreement. And the speculation is the agreement was that Barr would leave before he was supposed to by a few weeks. Mm-hmm. And the suspicion is that Barr has a pardon in his back pocket that he could have dealt with Trump, because he left, but he left with a letter that sounded like he was still Trump's biggest cheerleader.
Yeah.
He went on and on about how wonderful Trump was and what he had accomplished. Now, as we know, Barr lied about the Mueller investigation. Mm-hmm. He put a twist on that. Yep. We know that he protected Stone. Basically, what he was Trump's Ray Cohen. Mm-hmm. And not our state's attorney.
By the way, I'm going to take issue with you.
Yeah.
William Barr is the worst as the worst attorney general. I would argue that he's the second worst in my lifetime. And John Mitchell, who was attorney general for Nixon, was the worst, because John Mitchell, while in office covering up the Watergate break-ins, in addition, was leading the prosecution of the Chicago 7. So I can make the argument that John Mitchell was worse. And an argument could be made for Edwin Meese. Remember him back in the Reagan days?
No. Barr's the worst. He's the worst. He also was instrumental in Trump not being impeached. I mean, by lying, but also the thing that Trump got impeached over was the Ukraine perfect call.
Yeah,
air quotes. And he helped with that. He was in on that. There was Stone. There was Flynn. Where he failed, his only shortcoming, Barr's only shortcoming, was that he didn't get around to prosecuting Clinton and Obama for whatever things they did wrong, and he didn't. He didn't announce that. Biden's son was being investigated for his taxes.
Yeah.
Before the election, so it would have tainted the election.
Yeah, and when you say his failure, you had that in air quotes, because it's not a legitimate failure, but from Donald Trump, it's a perceived failure, right?
Yeah. By Donald Trump, because remember, Barr is Trump's personal attorney, not the American people.
Right.
And so as his personal attorney, he's supposed to get that done.
Yeah.
He acts just like that failing Supreme Court, those three justices. Trump went out through all that trouble of packing the Supreme Court with right-wing justices.
By the way, I have to say this, and I'll also do a little promotion. We're going to have Jim Coogan, Ace Attorney Jim Coogan will be coming on the show really soon to break down the William Barr years as Attorney General. And to that list of things that Barr did that was outrageous, I have to add getting the Justice Department to come to defense of Donald Trump in the E. Jean Carroll lawsuit having to do with her allegations that he raped her.
Right.
And somehow or other, Barr concocted a justification to have public lawyers who are paid for with public dollars defend something that Donald Trump did before he was a public official, and when he, or allegedly did. And so that was outrageous. So I think that may tip the scales to Barr being worse than John Mitchell. You're correct.
Well,
But-
plus Barr fired all the people in all the attorneys in New York, prosecutors.
Yes.
Yeah.
The lead prosecutor. Yeah.
Yeah. He did that. He did, the list goes on. I mean, his theory was that a president is above the law. Is king. He's the executive, and so he should have all this power. And he could do no wrong. That was his theory, and he executed on it.
Yeah. By the way, we've not talked about the Supreme Court ruling. All this stuff happened, I believe, in the week since you were last on the show. Let's just talk about it for a moment. You just alluded to it. The Supreme Court declined to hear that absurd lawsuit coming out of Texas, where essentially the Republican Attorney General out of Texas wanted the Supremes to throw out the votes from states that went for Biden, thus giving the election to Trump. There's no reason other than they just wanted them to do it, and they refused.
The reason was that their election setup was not like Texas's election setup. Therefore, it was improper.
Yeah,
and it should be overthrown, undone. And
so
it was the Supreme Court did not comment on it. But the reality, the fact of the matter is that each state controls how they do their elections, and another state does not get to dictate from one state to the other how they should do their elections. Everybody has their own elections, and they do it however the state legislature determines it should be done.
Well, the interesting thing I found about that decision by the Supreme Court not to hear the case is that two justices exposed themselves for being right-wing hacks for the Republican Party. That would be Samuel Alito and Clarence Thomas. They issued their own separate statement saying they would be willing to hear the case, but they just had to put that out there to MAGA. Let MAGA know they'd be willing to hear it. But I got a kick out of this, Monroe. I thought that Brett Kavanaugh would join Alito and Thomas. You know what I'm saying? And I thought I thought there was a chance that Amy Coney Barrett would as well. I never thought Neil Gorsuch would. I always thought Neil Gorsuch would be more of a John Roberts type, a conservative judge who basically gives corporations what they want, but would not go so far as to join MAGA. But I was surprised. I mean, the bar is low when I praise Brett Kavanaugh.
It wasn't really a MAGA vote at all. The thing is, Clarence and Alito believe that because there is a law that says that only states can sue states. The court's supposed to pay attention to those. Now, as a normal practice, usually when one state is suing another state, it's over right-of-ways, for rivers or water or something, or border arguments or something like that. And so nobody but the Supreme Court can make a decision on that. And so their position was that since only states could sue states, that they should have listened to it because that's the only avenue a state would have. But then they said, well, we were going to go for this nonsense.
Well, they didn't say that. I'll read you exactly what they said.
Yeah.
I understand what your point is.
Yeah.
That the cover, I always believe this. This is a point I always make with Jim Coogan when he comes on The Lawyer, is that judges are political animals. and they render their decisions are basically to meet their political needs and objectives. But what they do is they dress it up in all sorts of cockamamie legal rhetoric to cover up what is a political decision. So in the case of Alito and Thomas,
you don't have to do that.
What's that?
When you're a Supreme, you don't have to do that. When you're on the Supreme Court, you're there for life. So you have you're political, yes, but you are bound by the obligations that someone lower than that is, than the Supreme. So they didn't have to do it. That's the point I'm making, is they really believe that nonsense.
Well, I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
I don't believe they would believe that nonsense if it was going to throw out the popular vote that Donald Trump got and put in Joe Biden. I believe they believe that legal nonsense only because it would benefit Donald Trump. And they wanted to send a signal to MAGA that they were with MAGA, but obviously they didn't have the votes to go all the way. And I just, again, the bar is low when I praise Brett Kavanaugh for not joining Clarence Thomas and Alito, who have truly lost their minds. But he did refrain, so I got to give him credit for that. All right, let's move on to talk about something that you alerted to me to. Very troubling news. Donald Trump rushing forward to execute people or have people executed before he leaves office. Talk about this.
Right. Well, he was unsuccessful in making sure that the Central Park 5 was executed. Mm-hmm. And so he's trying to make up for it. He's going to kill 5 other people instead that are on death row. And he's moved up the schedule. And one of the reasons, of course, is because Trump is very reactionary. I mean, most of his 4 years were spent reacting to what Obama had done and trying to do away with it, to kill Obama's legacy completely. Biden has said that when he becomes president on January 20th, he's not going to do death penalties. And so Trump still smarting with the from the fact that he lost the election and he lost it to Joe Biden, the worst candidate in the world. So he's going to screw up. He's doing other things also, but he's executing people. He's not let Biden's people meet with his people over some security matters, foreign security matters. And he's just what he's trying to do is gum up the works every kind of way he can, so that like him, Biden will be a lousy president.
When he rushes forward to make sure these prisoners are executed before he leaves office.
Right.
Do you think he has? Is it just absolute animosity?
It's his legacy that he's looking at. He is the law and order president. He was hired tough on crime, and since he hasn't done much, he hasn't had much of a record. Period. This is something he can do to brag about later. And, and the thing is, I think that he hasn't determined whether he's going to actually run again in 2024. I mean, he's basically leaving the door open, but I'm not sure he really wants to do it because he doesn't like having the job. He hasn't done the job in the 4 years he was there, but he likes all the trappings of being president and the power that you have. And so he's, like, well, do I want the power? Plus, of course, once he's no longer president, he can go to jail. He doesn't have to get out of jail free card. And so that has also been a little thing he's been weighing in on.
Yeah, that's obviously on his mind. No doubt about it. New York, state of, is still going after Donald Trump.
All right, exactly. No, they're going full steam ahead.
And the IRS, he still has his problems with the IRS on unpaid tax or a dispute over write-offs. So yeah, he's got a lot of issues he's facing, legal issues once he's no longer president.
Right. Now he will be in court. There's all this speculation on his being a kingmaker and a power broker in the Republican Party. I think he's going to be so busy in court trying to stay out of jail that he's not going to have time to be this kingmaker that he imagines. Although he has this incredible war chest now with the idiot.
Monroe, he is still raising money from these suckers. It's unbelievable. I was making fun of this yesterday. I got a solicitation in the mail saying that I was lucky. I was recipient. I had been chosen for the honor of, for the honor of giving money to Trump. That was the appeal, that I won the honor to give money to Trump. I'm like, how could this work? How could there be someone so dumb?
Well, because Donald looked at the list and your name wasn't on there. And he said, I want that Ben Joravsky on my contributors list. And so, and you keep blowing your opportunity. I don't know what's wrong with you.
Monroe, I gotta say.
Michael Cohen was interviewed the other day. And he said that this is another hustle that Trump is doing. Because what he's doing is getting these people to pledge $4.99 a month.
Oh my God.
And he's done enough where he's going to be collecting. There's so many millions that he's hooking on this, that he's going to be making like $1 billion a year off these fools who can help him fight the libs.
Oh God! Well, he is the con man. I got to give him that. He is the greatest con man of our generation, Monroe. I would
all time. I mean, he's better than.
He beats Madoff. I used to think, well, Bernie Madoff was absolutely the greatest con man of our lifetime. You got people, really rich, smart people, that turn over their money to him. Right. And he did it by telling them, well, I can't give you this opportunity because it's limited opportunity. So I'm sorry. He would reject their overtures, which only made them want to give him their money. Please take my money, Bernie. Yeah. All right, if you insist, but don't tell anybody else. I'm doing this for you. It's just for you. I thought, oh, Madoff, you're smart. But I think Trump's got Madoff beat, Monroe. I'm sorry, Bernie.
Yeah, he has. This because he's got millions of people giving him their money.
Wow.
And of course, you remember 4 years ago, a little more than 4 years ago, when he was running for president, he didn't need anybody's money. He was so rich he could pay for it himself.
Yes. Oh my God. I remember a column your old friend John Cass wrote on that point. Well, he doesn't need money. Oh my God, MAGA, you were really conned. All right, Monroe, I promoted this, that you were going to give a stirring defense and explanation for Pete Buttigieg being named the nominee for Transportation Secretary.
Yeah.
It baffled me. The only thing that I know that Pete Buttigieg knows about transportation is that he loves Uber. But he's a millennial. Oh, I love Uber. But you kind of steered me in the right direction on this one. So your thoughts on Pete Buttigieg as Transportation Secretary? Go ahead.
Mayor Pete, like Bill Clinton, is a great explainer of everything. And so what he will do for Biden is sell the infrastructure work that needs to be done. Biden needs an infrastructure bill badly, and he wants one. And Pete will be able to do that better than anyone else. And so that's why he wants him there. And
Well, he is,
the reason he needs him, okay, wait, one other thing. The reason he needs him is because quicker than you could say Jack Flash, the Republicans are suddenly going to be concerned about our spending and the budget again. It's going to be, oh dear, you are trillions of dollars in the hole. How did that happen? We got to stop spending all this money. We've got to conserve.
You are so correct. We were just talking about this before you came on about how the Republicans in Illinois, Jim Durkin, are outraged, I tell you, that Governor Pritzker could not produce a balanced budget, was depending on money coming from the fair tax revenues, which before it was passed. And I'm laughing like, Jim Durkin, where were you for those 4 years of Rauner when Bruce Rauner didn't have any budget, didn't even attempt to have a budget? But you're so right, Monroe. They will flip on a dime. They are so shameless, and now they'll be calling out Joe Biden on the deficit, right?
Right.
And so you'll need.
They'll have a deficit clock, showing how much each passing day is going up. It's amazing.
Yeah.
That Republicans fall for this. Yeah, talking about the Republican voters. I know the Republican politicians are doing it because they can get away with it.
Yeah, absolutely. So Buttigieg is a great talker, and he's very smart. And I think you raise a point. He can go around the country. He's got to do a better job. And you reminded me of this. Barack Obama did a terrible job of promoting the benefits of his stimulus plan that he put forth when he first took office. So Buttigieg has got to do a better job than Obama did.
Oh yeah, no, it's just that's easy peasy. The thing is, during the Obama years, I was driving. We have sons on the West Coast. We have friends on the East Coast, and Joyce's family's on the East Coast. So we would frequently drive because Joyce was taking some of her art with us. And so we would drive east or we would drive west. And what you'd see was all this construction going on that came from the stimulus plan, the shovel-ready stimulus plan that Obama had. You did not see Obama's name anywhere. Care if you looked under a pothole, behind a sign, above a sign, below us, it was just not there. In fact, sometimes, depending on the state you were in, the governor was taking it plastered his name on there, or her name, his name on there, and that was just foolish. I mean, Obama's name should have been anywhere and everywhere.
Yeah.
On those things, so they would know that this was your tax dollars at work, fixing these potholed highways, expressways, etc.
Absolutely, Monroe. When you said that, it just brought back memories to me of the Daley years, Richard M. Daley, Baby Daley, 90s, anything that the city did, any shovel that went into dirt, Daley was there for the picture, and the sign said his name, and it worked. Chicago was especially all Chicagoans, even South Side Chicagoans were just as gullible.
Let me tell you a story, a personal story. I was on the board of Keep Chicago Beautiful for 20-some years, and the mission, it was an extension, a local version of Keep America Beautiful. And our job was to encourage recycling. And we could not get any help from the city once Daley became mayor because he wanted his name on any recycling that was done. And so, forget about this organization that existed before he got there. And so it was Mayor Daley's recycling program, doing the same thing we had been doing, and we're trying to continue to do.
Yeah, and it worked because Chicagoans were brainwashed into thinking that absolutely everything good that happened in the city of Chicago, the sun rising in the morning, was because of Mayor Daley. I remember when the trees were dying in Chicago, Monroe. There was the infestation that of the beetle that was killing trees, particularly on the north side. It was on the north side, I want to say, and Daley had new trees planted. It was though he himself came in and dug up the earth and planted it, rolled up his sleeves and put the trees in. To hear Northsiders talk about Mayor Daley and his trees and his love for trees. But you know what? I'm going to give Daley credit. He understood the benefits of taking credit for stuff. And that gets also people to appreciate what government does. So there is a positive, I make fun of it, but it is a positive impact.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? People understand that, oh, yes, it's my taxes. This is my government at work for me. So there is some better. Let's hope Joe Biden does a better job and with people.
Well, Biden is an old-timey politician. Obama was the new breed and hadn't worked out all the kinks, but Biden he's seen this rodeo before. He's ridden in it, and so he will handle it right overall. I mean, he'll make mistakes, because he says goofy things periodically.
Yes, he does.
Where did that come from?
No, you're so right. Oh, brother. What part of the Biden brain did that emerge from?
Right, exactly. I mean, and this is not new. The MAGA people would like to attribute it to his age, but this is Biden. He's been that way.
Yeah. And by the way, let's just say this. Donald Trump understood this basic premise because when he sent out those checks, he made sure his name was, he didn't have to sign them, but he put his signature on those checks.
Right.
So,
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. In fact, that was one of the fights the second time around is Nancy didn't want his name on the checks.
Yes.
But, and I'm sure a lot of the MAGA people probably thought, because they're so politically unsophisticated, they probably thought that Donald Trump's a billionaire, so he personally is sending them this check. I was in trouble with President Obama, gave me some money.
Yeah. By the way, it's not just MAGA that's unsophisticated in that way. Chicagoans, they thought Millennium Park was built for it, but the contributions of rich people. That's how Mayor Daley pitched it in Chicago. It's, well, the rich people paid for like the pavilion, and they paid for the garden. But you, Chicago, you, the taxpayers, you bought the land, you pay for the construction, you're paying for the upkeep. Ooh, it's rich people, Ben.
Who paid for the bean? That's all I need to know.
Oh, some rich guy. All right, some rich guy. All right, now.
That's the thing about Millennium Park. Well, and the pavilion.
Yeah, no, come on now. That's Daley's greatest contribution to Chicago, in my humble opinion, Millennium Park. So I put Daley ahead of Rahm as mayor. I never thought of those days I would say that, but I think Daley's a better mayor than Rahm.
Well, he had more time, because I can't remember where I read this, but many years ago I read this book. It's talking about term limits and mayors and what have you. And the most successful mayors are in office at least 3 terms.
Okay.
It takes that much time for them to really get to where they can do things. They've consolidated their power.
Yeah, well, I would say that the greatest mayor the city of Chicago ever had served just one term and less than a year, and that would be Harold Washington, greatest mayor the city of Chicago's ever had, and I think Monroe Anderson will agree with me on that point.
I'm not going to argue with you about that.
Yeah, that's for sure. All right, now let's close with this. No ducking, no dodging. I told you I was going to do this. Let's see your response. Mayor Lori Lightfoot, her statement on CPT body-worn camera footage. This is a press release that Mayor Lightfoot sent out last night. We're talking about it all day on the show. Ann Jeanette Young, a resident of the city of Chicago, was really brutally treated by police officers in February 2019. They busted open the door of her home while she was home alone. She was naked, and they put her in handcuffs behind her back, searched her apartment. They were looking for someone who was not in their apartment or built her home. It turned out they had the wrong address.
Right.
She has since sued and has been fighting in court to have the video of the camera footage of the incident released. It was finally released the other day and shown on Channel 2 News. The proverbial shit has hit the proverbial fan, and Mayor Lori Lightfoot issued the following statement. Today, I became aware, this is a statement she released last night. Today, I became aware of an incident involving Miss Ann Jeanette Young from February 2019 before I became mayor, and I saw a video today for the first time. I had no knowledge of either until today. I had a very emotional reaction to what was depicted on the video, as I imagine that many people did. Since this matter is the subject of litigation, I will have no further comment. End of quote. Monroe Anderson, in addition to being a distinguished journalist, you were for a couple of years press secretary to Eugene Sawyer's, perhaps the second greatest mayor in my lifetime in the city of Chicago. So my question to you is, do you believe that Mayor Lori Lightfoot is telling the truth when she says, and I quote, I saw a video today for the first time. I had no knowledge of either the incident or the video until today. Do you believe she's telling the truth when she says that? Monroe Anderson, go.
I think the mayor misspoke. There's no way that she would not know about that. It's no, the law department was suing to try and keep the videotape from coming out.
Yes.
The city lawyer who works for her would not dare go to court without discussing this with her and getting her blessing on it. It's just you just don't do it. And in fact, everybody, when I was press secretary, I had a staff of 20 or so. And when you're in power and in charge, people elbow each other to try and tell you whatever they know to try and impress you. So you don't go, there's nothing you don't know about.
Yeah.
Because all sorts of people are telling you things because they're trying to impress you. And so there's no way something that serious and complicated could have happened without her knowing about it on many levels. And she would have had to have made the decision. They wouldn't even have acted on their own with that. She chose to try and block that tape from being going public.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not sure why, but she knew.
Mm-hmm.
And now she's searching for plausible deniability.
Yes. Well, we'll close it there. That was well done. Mayor Lightfoot misspoke. I hadn't thought of that. That's a good choice of words. Monroe Anderson, we'll be talking to you next week. Stay safe and sound, all right?
Okay, all right. Okay, take care.
That's the great Monroe Anderson every Wednesday, the Ben Joravsky Show. D, you got any updates for me?
Absolutely, I do. We're going to do the back half here. Here we go. We have the latest on today's Chicago City Council meeting. The mayor and her aldermen met this morning. But first, it's time for a new segment here on the program, Ben.
Oh, and that segment is?
Well, I literally just came up with it during our interview with Monroe. It's a segment where we take a look at the media strategies from our elected leaders right here in Illinois. It's time for Today in Illinois Media. Like I said, just came up with it. Don't have an intro, but that will be coming soon on the Ben Joravsky Show.
I like that, like, wind sound that you came up with. That's good.
So we begin today in Illinois social media. And Illinois Republican downstate rep Darren Bailey, man, he's got some jokes.
DB. What did DB do?
For those who don't know, Darren is a guy we often call DB, or the big feller, here on the program. And he was the first one to sue our Illinois governor for his 5-phase mitigation strategy to safely reopen Illinois.
Let's begin with phase 1.
Darren Bailey looks more and more like he's running for governor every day. Darren Bailey and what looks to be like a team of social media gurus are now putting out Darren Bailey anti-Pritzker memes.
That is correct.
And sadly, Ben, it seems like they're trending. Capital Facts' Rich Miller posted one of the memes. I think you'll get a kick out of this. Get your Pritzker suck sign, Ben, and get a load of this one here. All right, it's a picture of the famous Dr. Seuss character, the Grinch Who Stole Christmas. You're familiar with that, right? Everybody is, right?
Uh-huh.
All right, yeah. But instead of the Grinch's face, guess whose face is on the meme?
Yes. J.B. Pritzker.
Yeah, good job. That was good.
What can I say?
And the meme reads how the governor stole Christmas. And instead of it saying by Dr. Seuss, it says by Darren Bailey.
Who came? Which brilliant? Did Mark Zuckerberg come up with this? Is this something that Mark Zuckerberg? Because only a visionary who understands social media inside and out could have come up with this one. Is there any more to it, D?
No, that's it.
DB, I've said it all along, is going to run for governor. That's my prediction. And he is MAGA's favorite. It's pretty obvious. He led the charge, MAGA, just telling you this. The anti-face mask charge, the anti-social shutdown businesses charge, the effort to keep the state open during the pandemic, no matter how many people got infected, no matter how many people died. He was the leader of that cause. He believed so much in the fight against face masks that he walked into a legislative meeting that had been convened by Michael Joseph Madigan, and he was not wearing a face mask. And as you recall, Chris Welch made a motion to have him evicted, and even some of the Republicans voted with the Democrats to kick him out. And he walked out proudly, kicked out of the meeting. He is the face of the Republican Party in the state of Illinois right now, ladies and gentlemen. Kenny Griffin is just a guy who bankrolls it. All right? Now, I would argue that MAGA also has a great amount of appreciation and love for one Rod Blagojevich, because Blagojevich sprung from prison by Donald Trump and has been singing Trump's praise ever since. There's a lot of love from MAGA for Blagojevich. Either way, the greatest ally that J.B. Pritzker's reelection fight has is DB, Darren Bailey. And yet, I don't know if any mainstream Republican, any Adam Kinzinger, let's say Congressman Adam Kinzinger, could defeat him in a primary. Because right now, MAGA runs the Republican Party, and right now, Trump runs MAGA. And so a guy like DB would be very, very popular. It's very curious how Jeannie Ives weighs in on this. I don't think she'll run for governor again in the Republican primary, but will she endorse DB if he does? So yeah, DB's out front. He's trying to stay out front with his memes, you know. And it's and Dennis was the one who pointed this out to me. He went down to his beloved Alton. This is about 6 months ago, I want to say, right, D? Because I believe we were still, it was a while ago. We were still on the train. And you're telling me, Ben, you don't understand how unpopular J.B. Pritzker is downstate. And I go, come on. I know politics. Okay, been around a long time, a lot longer than you. You don't know politics, you young pump. I know politics. And Dennis goes, no, all over downstate, Madison County, there's Pritzker sucks signs. So right there on the train, Dennis went to various Facebook.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. I showed you the one where it was Taxzilla. Oh, man. And it's like JB smashing like buildings like Godzilla.
And that's when the light went on. Ding! I'm like, oh, my God. There's another world out there. You know, I got to get outside every now. I got to leave the Chicago bubble. I love J.B. Pritzker. Love J.B. Pritzker signs. No, not really, but metaphorically. Now the whole world hates him. And DB has been riding that wave. And he's been the leader of the J.B. Pritzker sucks campaign. And Jimmy Durkin, you know, out of DuPage County, is trying to hurry up and get aboard. Wait for me. I want to get aboard. But no, DB calls the shots for the Republicans. So that's your guy, Republicans.
Shout out to Kathy on the live stream chat in regards to Darren Bailey. She goes, I'd vote for Mancow before I voted for Darren Bailey.
I forgot, Mancow. Mr. Cow, what is your position? Once again, Ben, his first name is not Man. That's his whole name. Oh, I always get confused because I think his first name is Man. You know, like, but then again, I think Dennis's first name is Doctor. So what do I know?
Yeah, life's hard sometimes. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. All right. Man cow.
It's the butter cow, which has 9 hearts to represent the 9 essential nutrients in milk. That's right. It's made entirely out of butter. And, it's a state fair tradition since at least 1922.
And hey.
Wait, Dennis, you know what I just figured out?
What?
Man cow has a brother, and his name is Butter. His older brother is Butter Cow. Who knew? You know, mom like Mrs. Cow named one son Man and the other son Butter. Sorry.
No, that's good. Keep going. I love it.
I'm trying to think of other cows. Elsie, and then the daughter Elsie Cow. Is there a cow named Elsie? Did I get that right?
Yeah, there's a cow named Elsie. Hey, let's move on, huh? And speaking of the governor, also today in Illinois social media, J.B. Pritzker, along with his gubernatorial colleagues, were featured in a new social media video. Today, Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer, Indiana Governor Eric Holcomb, Kentucky Governor Andy Bashar, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, Ohio Governor Mike DeWine, Wisconsin Governor Tony Evers, and yes.
Don't believe me? Well, consider these facts. The first cell phone was invented here. So was the first television remote control.
Mr. Illinois himself, Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, joined together in a social media video to encourage everyone across the region to remain safe heading into the holiday season. Ben, I have the video. Let's take a listen here. Heads up, it's like 2 minutes. And we're not going to play the whole thing. But, 'tis the season. You know what I mean, bud? Here we go.
Hi, everyone. This is Governor Gretchen Whitmer.
Governor Andy Bashir.
Governor Tim Walz. Governor J.B. Pritzker.
Governor Holcomb.
Governor Mike DeWine.
Governor Tony Evers.
Just like we did before Thanksgiving, we wanted to take a moment to urge everyone in our region to do your part to protect our families, frontline workers, and small businesses this holiday season.
This may be the most difficult time yet in our struggle with COVID-19, especially with the holidays approaching.
Until the vaccine is available to everyone, and until we eradicate this virus once and for all, we must continue working to protect one another.
The science is...
All right, that's enough.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. It's a big improvement. I think you'll agree with what I'm about to say. A big improvement over that Thanksgiving video that the mayors put out. Lori Lightfoot. Remember that one, Dave? So, I'd say at least these guys were like not pretending they were having conversations with people that they weren't having conversations with. At least it was just pretty much just saying, hey, guys, wear a mask, be safe. I mean,
this is the right thing to do, even though it's a hard thing to do. Of course, I'll give
Your love to Amy and Viv and Hank. All right. Love you, Mom. We'll talk on Thanksgiving. Bye-bye.
All right. Get ready for the sigh. Wait for sigh. Yes. God. Can we just get an Oscar to Mayor Lori Lightfoot right now for that sigh?
And can we get some frozen cake in here?
I'm really going to miss celebrating my birthday with you, but I'll save you a piece of cake. I'll freeze it.
Oh, by the way, Dee, this is literally just broke. Lightfoot apologized for wrongful Chicago police raid and says it was a mistake to try and stop CBS from airing body camera video. Man, they are changing this tune as this song is played. What about last night where first time I saw it? First time I just, something that's broke on my, I feel so Mark Zuckerberg-like because this broke on my computer and I saw it from the Chicago Tribune. I'm going to shout out to the Chicago Tribune. But I just saw that. I'm like, they must think we're so stupid. They've now changed their tune 3 times in this thing. And now she's apologizing for it. So breaking news on that front. And I know we'll be talking about it more tomorrow. But that's a little different song than this one, which I will now quote. Today, I became aware of the incident involving Miss and Jeanette Young from February 2019 before I became mayor, and I saw a video today for the first time. I had no knowledge of either until today. Well, I'm looking forward to her addressing whether she actually just learned of the incident yesterday. But it's good to see that she's now apologizing for it, so it's a transformation. Sorry about that, Dee. I just had to say that it was breaking news.
No worries. That's a great way to end it today. On to the city council meeting. Really, I'm looking for more details here. I think this story here that Ben was just talking about is kind of taking the front stage here as far as the Illinois media is concerned. So we're going to try and get updates on today's city council meeting tomorrow during the show. I do have one quick little update. One update, though. I don't know. I think you'll get a kick out of this one as well. The following comes from Fran Spielman, Fran the Woe Man Spielman on Twitter. She's on Twitter as well, Ben.
I think I'm the only one not on Twitter,
yeah,
Dee. And you. I think, but I'm definitely the only guy in media not on Twitter. I mean, I'm literally on Twitter, but
this comes from Fran on Twitter. A little detail here in the Chicago City Council meeting today. Lightfoot gets into shouting match with Alderman Byron Sigcho Lopez about mistaken police raid and mayor's attempt to keep video of it from going public. So we had a shouting match there. So.
Yeah, I saw another tweet before I went on the air alluding to a disagreement. And ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be breaking this down when Dave Kloatz comes on, and we'll be talking about this tomorrow. Lori Lightfoot is really positioned herself in a very awkward place. Her city lawyers have been fighting Ann Jeanette Young in court, trying to prevent her from releasing the footage. And she has sent out a press release last night that said the first she heard of the incident, the first she heard of the video was Tuesday. Or was it? Tuesday, yesterday. And now she's apologizing for it. So now she's trying to extricate herself from the corner she painted herself in. And Byron Sigcho Lopez, I'm sure, was pressing her on this at the city council meeting. She doesn't like to be sharply questioned by lawyers. We learned, by Alderman Raylo. We learned that with Raylo. So maybe there'll be some more Raylo moments coming out. So yeah, Dee, this is a story that's developing, and we'll be following this one for certain.
Absolutely. Remember, everybody, you can download previous Ben Joravsky shows, Benny J bonus interviews, and so much more at the Chicago Reader website, chicagoreader.com /Joravsky, if you want to just go right to it, JORAV as in Victory, SKY, and wherever else you download podcasts, over 800 episodes for you to play. We just had our Benny J bonus interviews over the weekend. Fantastic interviews if you haven't heard them yet. Timmy Tutton, we met the Tuttons. It was a great interview. Go check that out. Chicago Reader website, or wherever else you download your favorite podcast. And hey, if you download, check us out live sometime. I'm seeing more and more new people on the live stream chat. Let's keep that going. Give us a listen live sometime, 1 until 3 p.m. Central Time at the Chicago Reader YouTube channel. Join the live stream chat, hang out, talk politics. Join us.
All right, very good. I want to thank Monroe Anderson. Every Wednesday, he joins us, does an outstanding job. The legendary Monroe Anderson. Of course, the man, the myth, the legend. The pride and joy of Alton, Illinois, without whom the show would be possible. And as Mayor Lori Lightfoot and Mayor Pete will tell you, back home in Alton, they call him the doctor. Give yourself a raise. Take it out of petty cash. See you tomorrow, everybody.
Let's begin with phase one. Let's begin with phase one.